You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch TV and movies about rabid sports fans that would rather bite a bullet than let go of a baseball. Oh, this is a world I am familiar with. I'm not part of it anymore, but this was, good old Roberto, like Clemente.
Man, Ogilvy's been around too long to not know the
Nebraska. It's not Ogilvy. It was Whitaker.
Oh my God, Whitaker! That's what I meant. I knew it was Whitaker. I called him Ogilvy.
Want to take that again?
Terrible. Cut that out.
Yes.
No, let's leave it in. I'm human. Actually, let's little disclaimer, Jodie. You are on the road.
Yes.
Recording with your Bluetooth headphones. You don't have your mic, so that's one thing. I am recording in my living room. There is a band in the studio. You're probably hearing some guitar right now. When I'm not talking, I will edit that out. It won't be the whole time, but we're just kind of playing it fast and loose today, and you'll need to be a little patient with us if you don't mind. We are in the middle of our storm in the same way that Pitt is. Next week, we'll be back to our regular stuff, folks. Yeah,
I am in a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia at the moment. By the time you hear this, I'll be home, so don't rob my house. But I'm Jodie, and you're Andrea, and we watched The Pitt, Season 2, Episode 11, 5 p.m. It is getting bad out there.
This was
like,
one.
It was weird because it wasn't like mass casualty, full chaos. It was just everything is going bad for everyone all the time. Like,
that's right.
It just is snowballing in a way that bad days do, where like one thing on top of the next thing on top of the next thing. And like nobody's having a good time.
No, nobody's having a good time, and nothing is like big enough to feel like a spectacle. So it's just like, just down. It's tough.
I thought it was a good episode. I don't know that I liked watching it the whole time because it was so like the ice stuff and the ending and all of that was just a lot. And we know that this is the Pit and it's going to be a lot, but it was tough.
Yeah. It was a lot in a, not a different way necessarily, but just like, I don't know that this one felt like it flew by in quite the same way. I think I felt like I was really like,
well, I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone at the conference last night at a reception about like everybody seems really burnt out here. We're all in education. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about how there's like this invisible weight that's on all of us that we sometimes forget about because we're not directly impacted by everything that's going on, but it's still a psychic like heaviness that the country is the way it is. And this is a reminder of that, this episode, in a really direct way. And so it kind of brings that to the surface. So for me, that really was the really tough part about it is like, we're all living with this, and I'm at this education conference. We're talking about it all the time, but it's like, it's different when our entertainment deals with it as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point.
And I'm glad they did. And like, we should talk a little bit about the fact that like there was all this talk about how they were going to have to sand down the edges and everything. And maybe they sanded down some little tiny sharp edges, but this was pretty direct.
I was thinking about it because I think the language they used is they were told it needed to be balanced. And I was thinking about like, well, they didn't
show the ice agents like pulling her shoulder out of its socket, which is probably what happened. Like,
and they didn't say definitely that's what happened in the way that like if it were Santos and like an abusive dad, she would have outright said. And so I kind of felt like obviously it's not as we know how brutal it gets. We have seen how brutal it gets, and this was not that, but it did feel real to me because it's not every instance is I was going to say every instance is newsworthy. Not every instance makes the news, and I'll bet this happens a lot.
I did see a TikTok from a immigration lawyer who said that the most unrealistic part of this whole thing is that they would have brought her to the hospital in the first place.
At all.
at all. Like, so the people they're detaining don't get medical attention. And if they do, it's like much later and in a detention center, and it's not inadequate if it's there at all. So yeah, I mean, that to me is like, as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, of course. They literally, brought her to an emergency room because she dislocated her shoulder. Like, that's the part that's not real.
Right. So the impression I got was them being like, we're doing this to cover our asses, but nobody's there. But
they don't have to cover their asses because nobody's fucking checking on them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was, I think, the tough part. I rewatched this episode last night, and once we got to that moment, I was like, oh God, it's just rough. I think we should, because we end with that, we end with our hero juggling Jesse being taken away, that maybe we just save that little bit for the end and start where the show starts.
That sounds good.
We can start with Roxy, because this is sort of, I thought that was going to be it at the end of last episode. And they were like, no. Yeah.
I really liked I guess it's funny. We really have to balance you don't have to do anything for your audience, actually, but you and I really liked that ending and how they handled it.
Mm-hmm.
I know and the other thing that you and I have both liked about this show is, like, you don't always get closure, because in the emergency room, you very rarely get closure.
Right.
And so I think, and, handling Roxy the way we've spent time with her, and that she gets this moment without us. But at the same time, like, some people are going to want to know. And I do like that we get to see, not fallout's not the right word, but just kind of like the edges of it after her death with her husband and Jodie. And so I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's another opportunity for the show to demonstrate for us what's going on with Robbie, like, because he is surrounded by very bad things all day long, and is both trying to be unaffected by them and also is being affected by them when he's not expecting it. And so, like, he goes in to do the time of death, and it's just him and Jodie. It gives us a chance to have another look at Robbie's different coping skills in different moments, and his lack thereof. Because, like, in this moment, we saw him last episode be super brusque and kind of mean to Mohan, and now we're seeing him share this sort of acknowledgement moment with Jodie, which is very like the Robbie we know from the beginning. And so there's all these checkpoints where we're looking at Robbie's face throughout this episode in different situations, and this is one of them. I think that, we didn't need to see Roxy's goodbye, but I think the creators wanted us to see Robbie have to be in that room and connect with Jodie.
Yeah, and man, is that some face acting between the two of them. And I kept thinking, like, this moment, and when later on, I know we usually save the doctors for last, but later on when he checks in with Mel and he asks if she has anybody to talk to, and she tries to open up, and then he immediately gets distracted.
Walks away.
And yeah, because something more that he can be angry about catches his attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, that back and forth of him being like, and it feels like the check-in with Mel, the moment with Jodie, it, like, those are Robbie at his best, and it doesn't feel like he's fighting to do them. Like, they seem to come up naturally. It's not that he's like, oh, I have to, I'm remembering how to do this. But the problem then is that he is pulled out of it so easily by things that shouldn't be catching his attention that way.
Well, and the thing that really got me about the whole Roxy storyline here is that, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, I think it's a good place to talk about it, is that McKay is out treating someone that she met from the street team. She goes for 10 minutes, takes Ogilvy with her. And when she comes back, she didn't tell Robbie she was leaving, but she did ask Mohan to cover for her. And, but this is Robbie being just ready to be mad about something. He snaps at her for taking Ogilvy and for being missing or gone or whatever. But then, similar to the way he talked to Mohan last week, he basically says, oh yeah, well, like, Roxy died. Like, he doesn't say it in those words, but he basically, like, is like, you were gone and she died. Like, that was the mood that those words had.
I know, and it bummed me out because, I mean, it bummed me out, obviously, but McKay immediately folds on it. And
I know.
What overtakes her, obviously, is that Roxy died, of course, but maybe this is that justice, little, issue, but I think I would have been mad first of how he told me that, and, like, he's not directly, like, he's obviously not blaming her, but that's the feeling of it.
No, but it kind of feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you left and therefore. But I think that what happens with McKay in that moment, I think, is that she is so distraught by what he says that she doesn't register how he has said it. And when she says she's sorry, I think she's saying it to Roxy and her family in her head and not to Robbie.
That's what she's really sorry about. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Man.
But that was really shitty of him to broach it that way.
Yeah. It's Ogilvy. Like, he croaked.
It's not
quite that bad, but, like, I'm not going to forgive.
No, it was definitely, like, a rough way to say it to someone who really cares about this patient.
Yes.
After this, Dana tells Lena to take the night off as well, which we were talking about our fun ways that we might extend people's time past their shift ending. Mm-hmm. This isn't a fun way, but if Lena is taking the night off, Dana's going to have to stick around until they find someone to cover.
Absolutely.
So
that's one.
We also had the conversations with Robbie and Dana saying, like, how are you two getting along? And he says, I could take 2 more hours of it or whatever. And Alashimi asking if Robbie tends to stick around after his shift. Like, we've got that
and
going
Santos
on as well.
Says she only has 2 hours left in her shift.
Yeah.
So
we're seeing kind of...
That's so funny.
Yeah. I think maybe we should talk about Becca next. She does come up next in the show. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we put a pin in the happy fact. This is our one happy fact. Howard made it through surgery.
I know.
Howard's okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a long road, I'm sure, but
but he made it. He beat the 50% death odds. So
that's right, and that makes me feel like he can beat anything.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give us a nice moment there because it's not tied to anything else. I didn't want to forget to say, yay, Howard's okay.
That.
Yeah.
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah. But Becca, thankfully nothing is terribly wrong with Becca. There's just something terribly wrong with Mel's and Becca's relationship.
Man.
It's so clear to me that, and again, I'm projecting, but it's so clear to me that Mel is so wrapped up in her own life and her own head and her job that she has started to treat Becca like a job.
Yeah.
In a way. And she loves her. It's not that she doesn't. It's clear that she enjoys her company when they're together. But it's also it's her responsibility and she feels that very heavily. And also she now realizes that, Becca may go on and have a life that she's not having.
Yeah, and I would bet that Mel, if before today, kind of looked inward about her relationship with Becca, the thing she'd have to wrestle with is feeling like they were pretty codependent in some way, that she needs to be, caring for her sister because that's her role, and and now it's not really the case. It's Mel almost needs this more than Becca at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say is Becca does need Mel in terms of some logistical management, right? But she doesn't need to be babysat in the way that Mel is attempting to do.
Do we know anything about their parents?
No, we don't.
At all? Right. I'm curious.
Yeah. I also I saw an interview with Taylor Dearden talking about the character of Mel, and this isn't a textual thing about her, but Taylor has been thinking of her as being possibly asexual. And so there's also this lack of understanding of what of Becca's desires as a person, and part of it could be that she's infantilized her sister a bit, but it also just could be or both could be true, that she doesn't relate to those feelings.
Yeah. And man, that's so, I was curious. It's the therapy, mental health providers in me. Let's be curious about that. Let's stay curious. Right. My hesitation to put that on her is I know that there's a lot of talk about Mel also being on the spectrum, and that's there in the way that Mel does it, kind of like desexualizes Becca. It is that is often the case, but like knowing that that's how, and there are like both can be true. Case.
And so that's not something that I'm like deciding for them. It's more coming from Taylor Dearden's interview, but
that's why I'm glad to hear that, because now I feel like, you know, kind of like thinking through that, it gives us a lot to work with Mel and Langdon too.
Yes, agreed. Because there has been, you know, that sense of like, is she interested in him? And I think every impression I've gotten from their interactions is just that she likes him the way you meet someone and you just instantly like them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you meet someone and you're like, I like you. I want to be around you. It's not sexual. It's not romantic. It's just like, you are kind of a person that I like to vibe with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was just going to say something about his frequency, and that doesn't have to be sexual or romantic at all.
Right.
And I like that.
Yeah, no, I do too. And I do think it's a pretty, like you could see the arrows piercing Mel when Becca was like, I can talk to Langdon about it. I told my therapist about it. And Mel's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What about me?
Well, I love that they did that too, because Becca's doing it's not like, oh no, Becca does need to talk to Mel because she doesn't have anybody.
Right.
It's like, no, she's covered. She's doing, I keep wanting to say doing everything right, and that's not what I mean, but like, she's talking to her therapist. She knows she has somebody like a medical professional she feels comfortable talking with. Like, yeah, it is just, this is just Mel's problem.
Right. And I think that that's a really interesting, that made me think about the fact that like, one thing that's pointing out to me is, you know, Mel may be technically more high functioning than Becca, but Becca has built-in support systems around her that Mel does not have. Right. And Mel also has some needs, as we all do, for support. And so, like, it's flipping that on us, right? Like, we look at Mel as the caretaker in the beginning. Now we're realizing, actually, Becca's set up pretty well. Like, she talks about a mind-body class that she took. Like, it sounds like, in a weird way, like, Mel's done such a good job of helping her sister, like, live a relatively normal life that she's going to move on without her.
Right, right.
And of course she's not. I mean, they're sisters. But, like, she's going to push Mel away. Or if Mel doesn't find a way to, like, let go and be, like, treat her like a equal.
That's right. Yeah. And the thing that we love about the show, one of the things we love about the show is the format. But then the other thing is, like, that's not going to get solved in one day.
I know. Yeah. So, you know, we find out that Becca made plans with Adam, her boyfriend, to go to the fireworks without Mel, which is quite sad. And I was sad for Mel until I realized how often Mel was using the red phone to, like, check up on her sister.
Man, okay. So Becca making plans without Mel, and Mel being like, I have your headphones. This is what I mean about the, like, Becca can get what she needs practically other places. It's like, well, okay, but Adam's got headphones.
So you and I are both caregivers for older parents. And I do think that there's a part of you that starts to think you're the, like, as much as you don't want to be the one in charge, there's also a part of you that's like, well, I get to, like, have this burden. And it's my burden. And, like, I have to do everything. And I'm not saying that she thinks that her sister's a burden, but there is something about, like,
that
I am the only one that is responsible for you. Therefore, I am the only one, the one that has to know everything.
Yes. And as my therapist
inability to let go.
Yeah, would love to remind me that's not true.
Right.
Or at the very least, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, like our social services are broken, but they do exist with people still trying to work hard in them that are doing the things like bring Becca to the emergency room when she has a stomachache, bring her back, make sure she's all right. Teach her a mind-body course to make sure she understands consent.
Yeah, and Mel was not worried about this place at all until So there's a lot here. I didn't realize we were going to spend so much time on this, but so my first thought with all of this is I want to go back to what you said about the red phone, which is, hey Mel, you gotta
get the phone.
If anybody needs to talk about leaving their personal stuff outside, getting their shit together,
your head in the game.
Wow. Hey Robbie, like. Maybe if anybody, because man, it's not even double standards with Robbie. He's just so erratic right now that it's like, you never know who's going to catch it, because I know we talk a lot about the gendered aspect of it, but
that's not what this is. Yeah. No. I was thinking the same thing. And I think it really is. The people that he's being really hard on right now are McKay and Mohan, and they are two of the most obviously empathetic to their patients and emotionally connected to their patients, and that he cannot handle.
Yes. They've also been here longer. Like the way I was like, again, I'm always trying to like balance my wanting to forgive Robbie for everything because he has such deep, sad eyes, and wanting to, but then also like not wanting to overcorrect. And so like the way he excuses Ogilvy later for Mr. Green, but then then puts it on Mohan is, on the one hand, I'm like, whoa, man. But on the other, he is kind of right. Like we talked about it with Whitaker and Javadi. And so like, it's hard to parse out the show. I mean, nothing is one thing on this show, and that's what's so good about it. But all of that to say, Mel, get off the red phone. She says it's kind of an emergency when Dana's like,
I know.
I know it's like Mel and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, but come on. Right.
But I do love that as distracted and in her own head as Mel is, as soon as she gets that look from Dana, she's like, I gotta go. Like, that look, you don't want that look from Dana.
No.
Yeah.
Dana kind of says water a little bit in this episode. It's not quite as like
for you
put on as it, or not put on. It's not quite as distinct as it is like when I say it, but she's kind of like flirting with water.
That's great. I'm happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Should we talk about Duke real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about Duke.
It's pretty straightforward, and he is technically next. He's the only one that's using the patient portal in the way that it's meant, and not as a fan. He's actually reading it.
Yeah. It's fun when, Robbie kicks Whitaker out because Whitaker hasn't checked on those x-rays in the last 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah. And we get like 10 seconds of Robbie with his buddy. And the energy is a little different. I mean.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Noah Wyle said in some of his earlier interviews this season about how Duke is the only person we're going to meet that knows Robbie outside of the hospital and knows a different version of Robbie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But his x-ray does not look good. No. It's like one of three things, none of which are great.
And they take us on a real roller coaster because he's like, oh, you think I have lung cancer? And it's a quick one. But then Robbie's like, no, it's not what I'm seeing. But it is, but then lymphoma, but then. And it's just like, Jesus.
Yeah. But what this does for us is it makes Robbie have to stay because the only way to tell for sure is a CT, which is going to take hours. And so... Right. We knew there had to be something with Robbie that would either he was going to leave and it was going to be like, that was the important plot point, or something was going to make him stay. And this is, obviously he's not going to desert his friend who he convinced to come in.
Right. And they really do seem to have like a very kind of like buddies. Specific and real, friendship.
Like they know each other well, it seems. Like for two guys that probably mostly talk about motorcycles, you could tell there has been some other ways that they've gotten to know each other beyond just their shared interest.
Yeah. It's funny too that like when he says Robbie didn't tell him he was a doctor for months.
Yeah.
The idea that Robbie just like so much of his identity is tied up in this work and that he just wanted like one space. I wonder if it was the, like, him noticing that something was up with Duke, that made him finally tell him.
Yeah. I mean, I said last week, like, part of me wonders if, like, Duke is going to be the one to come to Whittaker or someone else with his concern about Robbie. And we did get a quick moment of them chatting. They weren't chatting about anything, like, really notable, but I did think it was interesting that there's people around Robbie triangulating together where the fuck he is right now in his head.
Yeah, maybe the last 3 hours will just be an intervention of everybody reading hastily written notes. So they had to,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that Duke is going to be hanging out. I like him. We didn't say last week, it's Jeff Kober. We may have said that. He's been in a bazillion things, but he's been in 3 things that are very important to me.
Okay.
So in first thing is Tank Girl. He's Tank Girl's, like, mutant kangaroo boyfriend, love interest guy, first of all. Second of all, he's in a handful of episodes of Buffy, season 3 and 6. He's Rack. He's the, like, warlock drug dealer.
That fits.
And then most importantly, he's in season 1 of X-Files. He's in the episode Ice, which is when they're in that, like, Arctic outpost. It's a little bit like
you say this like I've seen it.
Well, a few of our listeners.
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
What a show. It's a little bit like The Thing, and he plays Bear, a pilot. He's like a very, like, one of the main characters in that episode. So, and a bazillion other things, but why haven't recording sitting on my sofa holding the mic is such a different experience for me, especially because I can't see you right now. I feel like I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
And also, hold on, what the hell was I gonna say? Oh, why haven't we watched Tank Girl?
I don't know.
Have you seen it?
I can't remember. It's another one of those.
Okay. At some point we gotta watch Tank Girl.
I think that Lori Petty fell into that. It's Lori Petty's in that, right?
Yes, she's Tank Girl.
Yeah.
The titular Tank Girl.
I feel like Lori Petty fell into that lane for me when I was a young person that was confusing.
Yes.
Because it was like, I don't understand why I instinctively hate this person.
Right. Why I instinctively hate this.
This, like, very queer, like, gender non-conforming, whatever. Yeah. I had a real
baseball
problem.
Playing, tank driving.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Yeah, those types of people were very confusing for me.
Totally.
So I think that maybe if I didn't see it, that's why.
That makes sense. It's also, I think it's so cool and I love the way it looks and all, but it's kind of ugly on purpose, and I could see being like, put off by that too.
Right.
It's so fun though.
Yeah. Well, we'll have another movie run at some point.
Yeah.
So I think that next we should maybe talk about Mrs. Torres, because it was a very quick one because of Ice. She left. But she's the one with the possible blood clot in her leg. She's an interesting one because she's definitely feels like a person who is there to make a point. Unfortunately, I mean, she's acted quite well with, like, real empathy and humanity by the person. I unfortunately don't have her name in front of me. But she really seems like she's there to talk about worrying in front of Mohan.
Yep.
And ask her if she's okay, and then disappear when Ice shows up.
Exactly. Yeah, some people are just going to have to fill those roles, which is kind of a bummer, but...
Well, and we do get, like, the precursor to that, which is our little warning that might be coming, is the 15-hour bus ride from Orlando to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Because, that's a long bus ride, and
to stay seated if it's...
So... Yeah, but she takes off. I like how the other patient is the one that tells her, like, no, she took off, man, when Ice showed up and got your nurse.
What the fuck did you think was gonna happen? Her name is Cheryl Umana, and
thank you.
The only thing, not the only thing, she's done a handful of things, but She is apparently Xantina in Slayers of Buffyverse Story, which is a Buffy podcast series that I have not listened to, but
okay,
feels like it's worth mentioning. Yeah.
We did already mention Kiki, the addict that McKay deals with out in the park. I feel like the only reason to kind of go back to that is just because of the Ogilvy of it all. Like, he is slowly, like, as slow as humanly possible, maybe learning a little empathy or having it shoved down his throat by his fellow doctors.
Yeah, it's...
Because he says he has empathy, he just doesn't understand it, which is like, okay.
Well, okay, but here's the thing with empathy is, like, you don't have to understand it. There's so many things that you don't have to understand to be able to feel for a person. And I'm sorry that you're so smart that you can logic your way out of drug addiction. Like, a thing that's not a thing, buddy. Plenty of smart. And, you know.
And to be fair, there are plenty of smart people that have not had exposure to or experiences of certain more difficult parts of life that then don't. But there are a lot of people that then believe that, like, the interviews I've seen with Lucas, he talks about how in his mind, Ogilvy believes that people create their own circumstances. That is like a core belief of his. It's like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, if your life is this way, it is because you chose it to be this way. And that just speaks to me of, like, a just general privilege growing up that, like,
I was just going to say,
you think that you deserve what you have because you've never been
your dad
taught
has
otherwise.
Tenure.
Exactly.
Is he a high school English teacher?
Not he's a high school teacher.
Okay, but still. But, you know, because your dad has job security and you're like
and you're
conventionally attractive
white guy living in Vermont.
Guy who's pretty tall and lives in Vermont. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's basically that same kind of ignorance of, like, it's never been hard for me, so I don't understand why it's hard for other people.
Right. And in the same way, you know, I want him to fix all of his character flaws, but, you know, if I'm saying, like, well, we can't, Mel's not going to fix, you know, like, I don't have to give him the same patience and grace that I give Mel, because he told Whitaker that Louis croaked, and I'll never forgive him for that. But
this is his first week, and I do think that by the end of the day, we can see some small changes in him. But yeah, so this patient who has something I had never actually heard of before, speaking to my privilege. I'd heard of the drug trank, but I hadn't heard about what can happen with these burns, basically, or lesions.
And it's just like, hey, Ogilvy, don't you think it's not an intelligence thing if you're so like, how smart do you have to be to understand that, like, drugs that rot your body are bad for you? It's not an intelligence thing.
But I know that we're grading on a curve here. But the fact that he didn't say anything really stupid to her, and insulting, is a step forward. He didn't tell her, like, you know, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why you're doing this? He said it ahead of time to McKay, but he did know enough after his experiences with her earlier to not do that again.
And he didn't, like, suggest that she also go to the zoo, because I've looked up xylazine, and it is most commonly like an animal tranquilizer.
Of course.
So trank. Yeah. But and there's that moment when McKay asks him, like, is something wrong? Like, because he's kind of frozen. You see him sort of shake himself out of it, and he says, no, nothing. And then he does get his shit together. So I do believe him that he doesn't think he's being judgmental. And that's a different kind of problem, but it's, there's hope for him. I'll never forgive him, but, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of Ogilvy, I think we should go to Mr. Green next, since that's also connected to Ogilvy's crazy day.
Yes.
And also the others are a bit more serious. So I think, not that this isn't, but we don't know Mr. Green very well, other than his lectures on grammar, and, you know, happy to have a copy of James Baldwin book to keep him busy.
Exactly.
But real quick before we do that, Ogilvy does have to me the line of the episode, which you already referenced before we started recording, which is that he sees organ donation in his future. Because he jaywalks.
Yeah, he jaywalks. I mean, the light is pretty far up. As somebody who's been there, who crossed that street myself, it's funny that we get outside twice in this location. It's like, well, we're in Pittsburgh for the exterior, so let's do a couple of things.
Yeah.
It's also a funny little bit of foreshadowing, like almost of like there are two people who step into that road.
You're so right. I hadn't even thought about that.
I thought it was peculiar. I was trying to figure out what.
No, that's such a good point.
But for what though? Is it so?
I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
To me, it was more like I am McKay, and I have people in my life that are Ogilvies, and like I will step out into traffic and assume they're going to stop.
Yeah,
like not to hurt myself, but just yeah. And I have people in my life, especially like in my family, that are like very crosswalk oriented.
Oh, I guess we could. Okay, here's the metaphor you tease out, because like traffic is coming for. It's not coming for any of them, actually. That traffic is just doing what traffic does, and how McKay and Ogilvy and Brenda interact with it says more about them. Maybe that's something. I'd give a student a couple of points for that reading.
Okay. Yeah,
I might
not
ask
for a full paper, though.
No, but I'd if they raise their hand and offer that in class, I would count that for participation.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So Mr. Green is decompensating. Mr. Green has what is it? Something aortic
aneurysm?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. But it's like an abdominal one or something. It's like in his belly.
Yeah. Which
I don't know what it means. I'm not a
ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm.
Yeah.
But if I know anything from Girl Interrupted, it's that your aorta is in your chest.
Yes, that's correct.
Good to know.
Yes. But so the thing that I think is important to note here that I learned from internet doctors this week is that this thing that was quote unquote missed on the ultrasound, Ogilvy would never in his 4th year of medical school be able to catch that.
Okay. So when Robbie said it's hard to miss, he's right. Okay. That's good to know.
But also, like, when he says it's easy to miss, you mean?
Or easy to miss. Yeah. The opposite of what I said. The other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But the other thing I thought was super interesting was the doctor's TikTok that I was watching also said that at Mohan's level, it's not unheard of to miss it either. That like, she is not an attending. She's not a radiologist. She's not like, it's definitely possible for her also to miss it and have it not be like a huge oversight. So there is a lot of consternation happening here about something that it sounds like Ogilvy would have missed and that Mohan could or could not have, and it wouldn't be crazy. So to me, that's just another example of Robbie being too hard on Mohan in the moment. But
yeah, especially now, to parallel that with Whitaker's first day and his first patient that he lost, where it was like, it sounds like something kind of similar where it's like, there are things you just can't prepare for that maybe somebody with more experience would. And neither. Yeah. And
I heard that referred to by the person I was listening to as a zebra, as something that looks like one thing, but then surprises you. So they're working on it. The other thing that really pissed me off in this moment was Javadi's mom. Assuming it was her mistake?
What the?
Ma'am.
Yo.
Support your fucking child.
Yep. And then, Robbie
tries.
Yeah. He tries. He does a good. He stands up for her. He says, like, show her why
that you belong here.
Yeah. It's cool.
Why you belong in the ER.
And then she jams her hands right in that patient's chest cavity and brings them back.
And
it's very cool.
I think she does. I think she's got work to do, but I think that Javadi is like, she seems to fit there.
I think so too. I also think anybody who survived our first shift,
the first day,
has. What I understand that this is how TV works and this is our cast, but it would have been interesting to have somebody with us in that first season who couldn't cut it and who we never see again, because I bet that does happen. Oh, for sure. I mean, or just was too traumatized and had to. Yeah. I shouldn't say, couldn't cut it. It's so unfair. That is. Yeah. No, I know that's not what you really meant. Yeah. That day of all days. This patient also
is showing us like the continual humbling of Ogilvy, because Robbie asks if someone wants to intubate, and he's been talking about it all day, and he does not want to.
Mm-hmm. He was, in fact, hoping somebody would decompensate so he could intubate.
Right. And now he's like, now that it's his fault, he's like, uh-oh. I did see in that same interview with Lucas, who plays him, that he was asked, like, do you think that he wanted to go with Dr. Shamsi for the clout and like to work with her, or because he felt responsible, and like because it was his patient? And according to the actor, it was more that he felt responsible and wanted to see it through.
That's actually the feeling I got too, or at the very least that he just wanted to be somewhere else. It didn't feel like a Gunner moment here. Agreed. So
we should keep moving.
Yes.
What time is it? Yeah, because I got to be out of here by like 2:15 latest.
Oh, yeah.
So we did briefly, I mentioned Roberto when we came in, but I do love the representation of a crazy sports fan. Like we had the Penguins guys that were branding each other. Now we've got a baseball fan that won't let go of the ball he caught.
Yeah.
Santos is just suspicious of every man. She's like, you didn't steal that from a kid, did you?
Which, like, I get it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do that, and I believe him.
I believe him, too. I mean, the fact that he refuses any pain medication, that was wild to me.
That scream is so funny. Oh. And that cut to Donnie.
That's why it's funny, because Donnie is just like, whatever, I heard nothing.
He's so unfazed, and it's like he's been. Yeah. First of all, he's been in this hospital in this ER. This is probably not the first guy with a dislocated elbow. From a baseball game, and then also, as we know, he's a new father,
new dad.
So yeah. This actor, Roberto's actor, is Michael Alix, Alix. He's an improviser, and guess where he's from?
Is he from Jersey?
He's from Jersey.
Where in Jersey? Do you know?
I don't know where.
Okay.
I couldn't figure that out, but
is it my Jersey or your Jersey? That's all that matters.
Yeah, he's got.
I need to know who owns him.
Oh wow! Jersey City, and he went to St. Peter's Prep.
Nice.
Yeah, like the great Nathan Lane. Mm-hmm. He went to Loyola in New Orleans for undergrad. Yep, and he's a UCB
North
guy.
Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Cool. And he owns the other thing dog. Sorry, or at least at one point he did.
No, that's important. Say that again.
And he owns a 3-legged dog, or at least he did. I don't know how old. This is a website, and I don't know the last how many comedians.
That's still important information. He still owned the dog at one point.
Exactly. So,
the only other thing that this patient really seems to be here for is to show us how Whitaker and Santos are kind of falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
They're arguing over who has to do the finishing out of the chart or whatever. And I think like the reason I think this episode felt so heavy is also shown here, because not every single person, most of these people are locked into their own lives with very little support. Like the big thing about the reason Whitaker is afraid to tell Santos that he's moving into Robbie's house is because now Santos is going to be alone and she's already struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another chance for us to see like Santos isolating herself from Garcia by the argument about Langdon, the argument we'll talk about later that she has with Langdon, Whitaker moving out, like Robbie leaving for 3 months. Like she really is sort of all in the course of a day. Like all of these people are falling away from her.
Yeah, that's so true. Man, that's tough.
Should we talk about Micah, the kid and his mom that we brought up briefly?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. So I had one reading when I first watched this, and then I watched some TikToks and I was convinced that I might have been wrong.
Yeah,
I thought Joy was being a dick, but I think Joy might be right.
I think there's something in the middle going on, because same thing happened to me. I didn't watch any TikToks, but I did see some online speculation. So let's talk through this at face value, what the show gives us, and then maybe you and I can do a little speculating.
Yeah, so basically the woman pulls up to the ambulance bay while Langdon and Mel are out there. Mm-hmm. She's got her son in the car who is unresponsive. he's very hot. And so Langdon grabs him and brings him in. One of the things I didn't notice right away that I did on rewatch is his wincing in pain.
Yes, I know.
His back injury.
I know, because remember just last week we were saying like, oh, I don't think this is the kind of thing where...
I still hope it's not, but...
I do too, but it is, even if it's just a moment of him wrestling with it and he makes a choice that is better for him, that I would be okay with that. But the thing like too maybe, is like...
Yeah, like maybe he looks at some pain meds, but then goes to a meeting or something.
Yeah, I would be totally fine with that. But it is like, not that there are better and or worse reasons to have a drug addiction. I'm not saying that. But
that's not how it works, yeah.
When it's one that is pain...
Yeah.
And... lots of people, we know it's like, it's a literal, like, it's the opioid epidemic. Like,
yes,
plenty of people who don't even realize that they become addicted to pain medication do.
Or that the medication that they're taking is addictive in the first place.
Exactly.
Because they're just prescribed it.
Yeah, we know Langdon knows better, at least on that front. But all of that to say, if you're working in a hospital and you have to be on your feet and you are very responsible for things like, what's he going to do? Not pick up that kid?
Right.
Like, again, not to say there are good and bad reasons, but it's just like, you could totally understand where he might feel pulled to relapse today.
I mean, as someone who had shoulder surgery and is still in some pain from it, like I do know how distracting, and as someone with chronic pain to begin with, like how distracting pain is.
Yeah. And we also just talked about like professions with the highest suicide rates, and one of them being like construction, and it's because of
it's all pain related
and like specifically back injuries.
Yeah, like the breakdown of your body in that job.
So,
this kid though, this is very, there's a lot of looks between Langdon and Hashimi that tell us that this is probably not going to go well. That he's probably not going to get 100% better. His temperature is 105.5, which is quite high. We don't know how long he was in the car for. Basically, the mom's story is that she was gardening. He didn't want to garden with her, and he was riding around on his tricycle. She was keeping her eye on him, and then all of a sudden he was gone. And that the door of the car was unlocked. He climbed in and fell asleep. And at first I was like, wow, Joy, like that's a pretty harsh judgment on this poor mom.
Yeah. And that happens often enough. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but like that happens often enough, and it's a terrible tragedy. And it is, I will admit, hard. Like when people are like, oh, I forgot my kid was in the back seat and I went to work. And your gut reaction as someone, especially for someone who isn't a parent, is to be like, how could you do that? Right. And it's one of those things that I like, you're like, you can't always control your first thought, but you can control how you react to it.
Yeah.
And I always have to do a little bit of work there of being like, you know, that person was exhausted and this is something they do. And like, and it happens.
There's so many things that could be going on there that are distracting her, making her have a hard time, like keeping track of the kid. For all we know, like she is a single parent, all of this stuff.
Yeah. And my first reaction was yours too. I thought we were getting set up for a PSA where Joy says that, and then somebody turns around and is like, actually, XYZ kids die in hot cars. And that's why it's important to have a lock that, like one of those. Yeah. But we do get a little bit of Robbie being like, not everyone grieves the same way. We're like, okay, Robbie, look to camera. So I thought those were the big moment, like those two things, what I said and what you said just now, were like the big lessons from this one.
But then what I saw that distracted me from this idea was she doesn't know his weight. Yes. I don't know one mother that doesn't know the exact weight and height in inches and years in months. And so that was a little weird. That tweaked my little signals in my brain, but I kind of let it go. And then it was pointed out to me that when his mom touches his arm, his hand, lets go of his hand, goes out, tries to walk into traffic, and is stopped by Al-Hashimi, he has dirt under his nails.
Yes.
And it's lingered on.
Yes.
It's not just that he has dirt under his nails. It's like we're supposed to know that.
Yeah, people are so funny because I was reading some of the conversations about that because I thought the same thing. And I was like, Kids got dirt under his nails, thought he wasn't gardening.
Most kids do.
Yeah, and then everybody was like, but that's right. I was just going to say, everybody was like, most kids do. But we have seen many young children on this show whose nails we haven't had a close-up on, and they added that dirt. Like,
it's
and
intentional.
Later,
it has
like
to be.
you said. And so, everybody's like, the speculation then being, which I think the two things that, I guess three, her walking into, whatever, all of those made me feel like, oh, maybe a lot of people are saying like, oh, he, was like getting in her way. She was trying to garden. He did something wrong, whatever. So she like broke. This was like the whatever, and locked him in the car. And then I don't know if that's the case. Then what? Then she changed her mind, which I guess is possible.
To me, it's more likely. Oh God, sorry.
I think we're probably like having the same idea, which is there's a middle ground where he got yelled at for digging in the dirt with her or something. She wanted 5 seconds to herself, whatever. He went and climbed in the car.
It could even be something as simple as like she left him in the car by accident when they were like, I think that it is like she is somehow to blame. I don't think that it's necessarily malicious. I think that maybe she is lying about the story so that she doesn't look as bad. And maybe doesn't get Child Protective Services called, like, that she's trying to make it seem like it was just a fluke accident and not negligence.
My least generous reading that is not as sensational, that feels more grounded in the pit, is she did something not intentional. She did something that then led to him in that car. She either knew or didn't, but for whatever reason decided then he's probably going to die because I know how quickly that happens, how often this happens. I'm going to bring him to the hospital anyway because, like, you can't not bring you're absolutely going to get investigated then. And then when he starts showing signs of some sort of recovery, it's not until then that we get that shot of her, first of all, letting his hand go. She's just been told, if that's your kid and you really don't have ambivalent feelings about him and his, you know what I mean? Like, the second you get that, the fact that she leaves his side, it's like, oh, well, now she knows maybe he might say something, or that I thought I was free. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't buy any of that,
but like,
to me, it's much more likely that it was some sort of negligent moment where she just is feeling so guilty that she, like, because when they talk to her, that level, like when Robbie and Al-Hashmi talk to her after she tries to walk into traffic, that level of distraughtness does not seem to me like a woman who is like, oh no, I'm caught. It seems like a woman that's like, oh fuck, I may have just accidentally killed my child.
And like maybe have snapped out of I agree. What I 100%, I like 99% don't think the theory I just put forward. Like I said, that's my least generous read. Could it possibly happen on the Pit? Maybe. What I don't think happened is that woman picked up her kid, locked him in the car, and waited for him to die. Like,
absolutely not. No.
And I think that there are a lot of people.
Her suicidality is in the broader sense of the Pit, also for Robbie's sake.
Yes.
For us to look at him as Al-Hashmi says, have you ever thought about hurting yourself?
Right.
And so she has to, for that to make any sense, actually be so distraught over what happened to her kid that she's ready to walk into traffic for real. So
yeah, I really think she just doesn't want to tell people that her kid just wanted to garden with her and she yelled at him and then he ran away and she took 5 minutes to herself and that's all.
Right.
You know? Because that's
right. Or there's
tough.
More going on. I mean, like what I almost feel like we should go back to our like, what PSAs haven't we had yet conversation and figure out which one this might be, because like, I don't think that it is some mothers are super negligent. I think it's probably more likely like, this woman her husband is abusive and she was hiding her child, or she works 3 jobs and she's so tired that she like fell asleep. And, like, I think that there's some other thing they're trying to talk about here.
Yeah. Even just the invisible burden of motherhood could lead somebody who just wants 10 minutes to work in her garden to like,
right.
I don't like that verb, but something happened that because she's not paying close enough attention for such a short period of time.
Yeah, I think that's
my
much more likely.
cousin and I locked ourselves in like the back of a hatchback with the seat that would go down, we climbed in through the back seat and got stuck. So like it happens. It just wasn't.
I mean, when I was a kid, there were a lot of PSAs about not like locking refrigerators that were out on the curb because kids would climb in them. Like kids get into shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't take long.
No. So I think we have to talk about Pranita, our ICE detainee. But the one other person, so we do end not dealing with ICE. We end with Curtis Larson grabbing poor Emma. We get a hula hoop issue, hula hoop moment.
That's right.
But maybe we should just like note that, because that is how the show ends.
Yeah.
And then talk about what is really the main point to me of this episode, which is the ICE agents.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah. So poor Emma. I am someone who watches the previews for next week. I'm not going to talk about it, but I had to this time because I was like, she better fucking be okay, man.
Yeah.
I did see a TikTok that was like, I have a suggestion for the writers of the Pitt. Give Dana a gun.
Yes.
I was like, oh God.
This actor, Curtis, by the way, he's been in a bunch of stuff, but specifically he is Bo in Happy Endings. He's only in 2 episodes, but he's the catalyst.
Oh.
He's the like, rollerblading guy who interrupts.
Oh my God. I totally didn't realize that.
Their wedding in the Bo Basinski. So it's
so
that
funny.
First episode, and then Bo fight when he and Adam Pally go to decide they're going to go fight him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I now hate him because he grabbed Emma.
That's right.
But Pranita comes in with 2 ICE agents. She has a dislocated shoulder, or actually a rotator cuff tear, which as someone who had surgery for that is really painful.
Yeah.
It is not stated that it was done to her. The ICE agents have a story about it that we are left to decide if we believe or not. But this was in the preview that, like, she can't even have a phone call until she's processed. Like, there's a lot happening here that is the Pitt signaling, like, hey, if you're not paying attention and you don't really know this is happening, like, we're going to give you the really important beats of it. Like, this person is not being treated like a human being at all. The way that they shot the ICE agents was so intentional. They're, like, looming, like, threateningly.
And they take up so much space on the screen the whole time, like anytime. Yes, absolutely.
I thought the way that the different doctors and nurses dealt with this moment to be really telling. Because Robbie, until his outburst at the end, really just wants to get them out.
Right.
Regardless of what happens with this individual patient, he's looking at, for better or worse, the larger picture, which is that he needs the beds. People are leaving. Nurses are leaving. They got to go.
It's a real, again, it's another moment of me being like, oh, this is Robbie being Robbie at his worst. And then having to be like, is that true? And it's like, he's a little bit of like real life trolley problem here, where it's like, this could end up being really bad for a lot of hypothetical, not even hypothetical, people, for a lot of real people. Like, we know that
people
lady,
that he knows.
Yeah. And that lady with the blood clot, or with the possible blood clot.
And his
Helen,
nurses and the 10 other people that left the waiting room.
And the thing I not liked. So like, I understand that, but what I want him to do is what has been done so many times on the show, like for our prisoner, or for that, teenage girl who Abbott lied about so that she, until, Dr. Collins, and Robbie had that back and forth. But anyway, is for them to like kind of do what's against protocol and act with their heart. And I understand why he.
Well, and the better version
really
of Robbie, like the version of Robbie we know from last season, would be going to extraordinary measures to protect this patient, and instead is sort of has made a deal with himself that like it's not worth the effort. He needs to get these people out because it will cause more harm. What happens when he does that, though, is that the onus then falls on his residents and his nurses, because somebody is going to have a legitimately like a legitimate emotional reaction to what is happening and try to stop it. And if it's not Robbie, who is the one that has the most protection and privilege, then it's going to be his nurses. I was sort of like a little forgiving of him at the end because of how he has that outburst. But then I thought about it and I was like, actually, that outburst is like his behavior is actually endangering the way he does it is endangering his staff and the patient, because he's starting something that is not going to come back on him.
Right. And it's another example of Robbie, like force field jamming whatever it is down until it explodes a little bit. Like,
yeah.
And if he had just like, not just because this is very blah, 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 blah. But I think like there's a version of this day where this happens and he does make more of an effort, first of all, to get a lawyer. And I know, I know. And I know that Robbie's also thinking the same thing I was, which is like, they don't give a shit about any of that. But at least
and
that
also
effort,
the lawyers are being taken up with the cyber attack or whatever.
Right. But like, you know, something. And then the other thing you could have done is like exaggerate the severity of her injury so that she had to stay longer and like find some
which is exactly what Dana did with the prisoner.
Exactly. And like, you know, maybe like rush a bed upstairs or something to get at the very least them off that floor.
And I don't think the ICE agents would have let that happen anyway. I think they would have done exactly what they did, which is basically drag her out.
Right.
But in our previous version of Robbie, he would have been the one leading that effort.
Yeah, I think so too.
And in some ways, he's more protected than like Jesse is a white man, but that doesn't protect you anymore. Right. Like, I thought it was super interesting. This was taped before Renee Good or Alex Preddy.
Mm-hmm. That's also a really good point.
And the fact that it is that on the nose about, like, Jesse was not shot in the ER, but Alex Preddy was a nurse who was protecting a woman from the ICE agents when he was shot and killed. And so like we say like, oh, Jesse's a white man. And in our previous paradigm, that would have protected him maybe a bit more, maybe, than it does now.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's possible we don't see Jesse for the rest of the season, because if he's, I mean, it would be unrealistic if he was back, you know?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Man, I hadn't even thought about, but of course, I think that's maybe that's why we've gotten so much Jesse this season. Otherwise, is for the actor's sake. It's for Ned to be like, let's give him a little more screen time because we're, you know, going to lose him for the last few episodes. Yeah. I like that. I like is not the right word. It's like you said at the beginning of this episode. I don't know that I like this episode, but there's the thing of this patient dealing with these agents and the, you know, result, though, like, but to see one of our regular characters also get pulled out, have like effects that like pull them out into the world outside of the hospital. We haven't had a ton of that. Like, I guess like Robbie with Jake and his girlfriend, maybe. But for the most part, everything is sort of contained within these walls, you know? I don't know. There's been a lot of like perimeter breaking this episode between Jesse and McKay and Ogilvy and Brenda. And...
Well, and, you know, for those of us that can't seem to turn away from the news. Like when Robbie says like, they haven't, like, we don't know where they're taking him, or like, is there a detention center in Pittsburgh? That's probably where they're going first. Like, there is this really important point that they're trying to make, which some people may not know, which is that there is literally like, it's like they're dropping someone into a black hole when they're taken by ICE. Like they can just move them to another state, or even in some cases another fucking country, like without any notice and without any contact. And so when Robbie is saying like, McKay wants to reach out to a family member to let them know what's happening, and Robbie is so desperate to get the ICE agents out that is like, no, let's just go and get this done. Like, the daughter whose bracelet she's wearing is literally now not going to know where her mom went, because there was not enough time for McKay to get, as far as we know, to get the daughter's number before they took her out.
Right. And now, and it's by design, and it has nothing to do. Now, this is just like but like, they don't know. They don't actually know. Not that, I don't give a shit what somebody's status is. There's no, I think our listeners know this by now, but it doesn't, we have no idea what her status is, and neither do they. Right. And also, exactly. I mean, I don't, Jesse too could get, not, obviously he's not getting deported, but like, he could be very hard to like track down, and so
he can, I mean, there's plenty of American citizens who have disappeared into the system for days at a time, either due to looking vaguely Hispanic or, protesting or anything like that. So,
and it looks like, I'm just kind of looking online, the closest actual like detention center from there is like 3 hours from Pittsburgh. There's they have their fucking offices all over where there's like more short term, which is probably where Jesse would go, but we have no idea where.
Right.
So. Brutal. Really, really.
Yeah. Brutal. So, the last thing that we need to talk about briefly with this episode is we finally get a confrontation between Santos and Langdon.
Yeah. What did you think?
This one really like was a litmus test for where my head was at when I was watching it, because I have been really annoyed with Santos for the way she's been treating Langdon, and like, hey, like, forgiveness is good and recovery is hard and addiction is a disease. And like, that has been my general feeling most of this season. And like, Langdon's working on it, and everybody deserves a second chance. And I still feel that way. I also, in this moment, really understood when Santos said, when he was saying, like, I've faced consequences, her being like, yeah, that is what happens when you fuck up.
Yeah.
And like, the privilege was like oozing out of Langdon when he was like, I almost lost my kids. I almost lost my wife. It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, and you didn't. And so like I do think that everybody deserves a second chance, and I do think that addiction is a disease, and I don't think that Langdon should forever lose his ability to practice medicine, but he did get away with something. Like, Robbie didn't report him for stealing.
Didn't report him. And also, like, I keep saying, if anybody in there deserves an apology as much or maybe even more than Robbie, it's Santos, because he put her in that position, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't just put her in that position. He tried to get her fired on her first day. Like, to protect himself. So there's also, and
he has a lot to apologize for, but I think that what that conversation did for me was it reminded me that it's not just about if the apology is good enough and what he did to who. It's about the fact that he got away with something, and he probably got away with it because he was the favorite child of the attending, or definitely because he was the favorite child of the attending. That is something that we have seen that Robbie only places on, so far anyway, people who look like him.
Right.
Yes.
And I think there a couple of spots for Santos where I'm like, well, okay, but because it's like he's not going to tell everybody that he was stealing medicine, and to be honest,
he doesn't need to.
Well, yeah, because we'll see what Al Hashmi does, because she's taken a real shine to him.
Yeah, but this could be the moment where she's like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, so now she's that back. Right, and she's Ms. by the books, so she's got to decide what to do about that. But then he's not going to go on a tour of telling everybody, because then he will lose his job and his ability to practice and and I don't think that should happen to him, even if that is, I'm like you more. Well, so all that to say, she doesn't have to accept his apology.
No, she doesn't.
And I understand being furious, but there are a lot of people in this hospital right now who need to get their heads in the game, and she's one of them.
Totally.
And then the other thing too is she was like, I've been treated like a pariah these 10 months, but nobody except for Robbie, Dana, and I guess they know confusing. That. Hold on, they know that she was the one who found out about his addiction and told, not necessarily that it's that he was stealing meds. That's the line.
Well, yes, and I think that line is even more precise, which is that I think that it was that she reported that he was high at work, or that was how it got reported.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like no one would have known he was high at work unless she had done what she did.
Right.
So
how also stealing? Yet nobody knows that he was stealing meds from the hospital. But then how do they think?
Well, so one thing I had heard, probably on TikTok, to be honest, or on some YouTube video, or on Reddit, who knows, is that A, there is a high rate of addiction among doctors and nurses. B, many, many, many times, quite often, if they are addicts to things like pain medication, stealing from their place of work is part of it.
Right.
This is not unusual.
Right,
and it is not a surprise.
No, and when you're an addict, you're not what's the word?
Like, where else are they going to get the medication?
They're like, when you're in active addiction, you're seeking out it.
Relief.
However, and especially when it's pain related, what's he going to do? Wait and try, drive out of state and find it? Especially with, there's just no buy it off the street. When it's, and wait until,
Well, and so what that means, though, to me, is that these sort of physician programs, like the one that he was in, are set up knowing that many of these doctors have fed their addiction, and nurses, by stealing from their place of work. This is not necessarily a end of career moment in the way that Santos seems to assume it is.
Right.
So it's complicated,
mm-hmm.
I agree. Santos has been really difficult to watch this season, but I think there's more going on there than just the Langdon of it all. Mm-hmm. And she does make some points in that conversation that I had kind of conveniently forgotten about because I really like this character.
Yeah. I think so too. And I really think if I were her, I would also have I might never forgive him. But again, I think I wouldn't want that to reflect badly on me. And it's going to, with the way she's
but
acting.
Interestingly,
and stuff.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, if you think about, say this wasn't Langdon, mm-hmm. right? Say the person that he catches or Santos catches and reports stealing medication is Mohan or mm-hmm. is McKay, mm-hmm. right? Does he go to bat for them and hide it in the same way as he does? And I'm not saying it's a gender thing. I'm saying it's his boy. This is his little prodigal
the
son.
Golden Child.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Actually, I think I could see it being a gender thing in that, in the same way that he's often harder on them, he might be softer on them in this case.
Maybe.
In, like, also in a way that is, like, reductive.
Right. I really think it depends on, like, the version of Robbie that we're talking about is so different depending on when we see him.
That's true, too.
I'm thinking about this as Robbie in season 1, in the moment that he finds out about Langdon. Like, what if it was McKay instead?
Right.
Right.
Well, McKay,
like, he's very defensive of her when she breaks off her ankle monitor, but, like, that's not something she's doing to the hospital. She's doing that so she can save people.
I really don't know what he would do.
Yeah. I'm inclined to believe that, like, his willingness to hide this at the risk of his own, like, reputation, career, etc., is because he feels partly responsible because he was his teacher, mentor, etc., like, more so than the other people we're talking about.
I think that's probably true. And also, like, it felt as if, especially because of the teacher, mentor, whatever, Langdon is sort of being set up to, beginning of last season, thinking about who might be the next attending down the line. Langdon was a pretty good guess, right? Like, at least for Robbie, if he's, like, thinking about him as teacher, blah, blah. And so not only is it like you failed him because you should have been paying attention, but also it's going to reflect more directly on you than Mohan.
It's like his
or
legacy.
McKay. Yes,
right?
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you so much. In
Men
a way that
love
Mohan,
a legacy.
Exactly.
No offense to any male listeners, the three of you out there.
Yeah.
You know the type of man I'm talking about.
Exactly. And so that's also a reason, that's so funny because Langdon, like, leaving the hospital to his son when he's got two perfectly capable daughters. And it's not until he gets a new baby boy that he takes somebody else under his wing. So it's yeah.
But the thing I thought that was, that we briefly mentioned already is that Al Hashmi is pulling a Robbie at the door with Jack Abbott with no shirt on, hovering in the corner, listening to this conversation.
Creeping around in this hospital.
People creeping around. Yep. And so there's going to be something there. And I, because of her rule followingness, I don't know. I don't want to actually predict how she's going to react because I think there's a couple of ways this could go and there's really no way to know for sure. But we're being led anyways through her, like, obsession with protocols that this would change her opinion of him.
Yeah. I think it's definitely going to change her opinion of him. What she does with that, I think it depends on which thing wins out because she loves protocol. She loves the rules. She loves the system. But we also know that she's willing to, like, push against it if she thinks it's for, like, the greater good, like or not even the greater good, but she's, like, doing some sort of formula in her head where it's like slash trach, that controversial, like, treatment for the eye stroke. Both of those are against general protocol, I think, up to a point. And this is very different, but I could see her being like, and also, he's still Robbie's problem. She knows that. Like, she could kind of, this is another way to keep her hands clean, is if she just turns away and doesn't say anything and pretends,
Right.
So,
but if he relapses on her watch, then it is her problem.
Right. But up until, so it's.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. We'll see. Yeah. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. Like you said, it could go a lot of different directions and they all many of them feel plausible. So.
Absolutely. But yeah, that was a tough episode. And as someone who watched the preview for next week, I don't think that it's all turning around into positive vibes.
Yeah, I accidentally watched it on Instagram, but I watched it on mute. So I have no clue what anything that was happening was, but it did look intense. So that's my prediction for next week. Next week's going to be intense.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. I would actually like to chat more about other TV I've been watching, but as I am in a hotel room in Atlanta and have to be at a chapter meeting in like a half an hour.
We could talk next week.
Yeah. Then when we are back in our normal locations.
Yes, exactly. I am watching Paradise. It is very confusing. One super quick email from our listener, Allison, who I don't think has written in before. So, Allison, it is so good to hear from you. Listening to the latest episode and was amused when you were talking about David Fumero. Remember when I said his name was so familiar to me?
Vaguely.
He's to Melissa Fumero, who's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, because it's a very specific last name. And a billion% I think that's why. And guess what? And I also said he had Jersey vibes, even though he's very much not from Jersey. She's from Jersey. She's from Lyndhurst. So Allison said, so he definitely has some NJ vibes. Slightly off topic, but Melissa did an episode of a podcast called Baby Mouth with Jimmy Smagula, I don't know who that is, who's also from Lyndhurst, and they talk quite a bit about growing up in the area. It's a good listen if you're interested. Of course, we're interested.
Of course we're interested. Are you kidding me?
So, yeah. So
that's awesome.
Allison, thank you so much for the email and for clearing that up. And thank you for listening. And
yes, any Jersey tidbits or references, we are always open to hearing.
That's right. And if you have a Jersey tidbit or reference that you want to share with us, you can send us an email, watcherspodnj@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at watcherspodnj. I'm at AQ
And I am Jodie _Mim, JODIE_MIM on Instagram.
That's right. And Jodie, on your way back north, you know what you could do?
Oh, I know what I'm going to do.
You're going to bang myself in the head?
Yep.
Get in the car?
And go to New Jersey.